before we start talking about the Parsha, I just want to lead us into this a little bit. So, we've all been here on this planet for varying numbers of years. Everybody has been through quite a bit, and it's the history that propels us forward. But all of us have noticed that something is not fully explained over here. Something is missing from this experience, and we can't necessarily tell what it is. If we look a little bit deeper, we notice that there's a war going on because people are suffering. If there's no war, why are people suffering? Who's hurting who? So there's a war between different realities, different possibilities of interpreting life, different ways of looking at life. Baruch Hashem, civilization is at a level where we can be here peacefully on this planet. That wasn't always the case. Many people went through generations where you had to protect yourself physically, you had to protect your life, you had to protect the life force of your children. So we've evolved to a place where for most people on the planet that's no longer the case. There are countries where you can go and be safe and your body will be protected. However, there's still a war going on because there's still suffering. And we, because we've been given this gift of peace, we've been given this gift of living in a world where your physical survival is pretty much taken care of, we can start looking at the deeper levels of how this war went internal after the bloodshed has stopped. People can no longer kill each other, people can no longer express their evil physically, but the evil is still there, the evil is still festering. And it went over to a war that has to do with words, with how we express ourselves, how we try to gain control over people or situations, and over thoughts, how our mind works. What do we think is right? What do we think is appropriate? What do we think is proper? So this war is a very real war. It might not seem real to us when we're sitting comfortably and we're relaxed, but whenever we go through emotional turmoil, whenever we go through some type of suffering, we realize that this war is very real. It has real consequences. Every single day there are different things that are being said to the people you love, the people you care about, that are going to affect their life. They're going to affect their future. They're going to affect how they experience the world, and even more importantly, how they experience the concept of existence, how they experience the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided that they should exist, that they need to come into this world and exist. That existence can be a blessing and it can be a curse. And it's over that existence that we're fighting. What does it mean to exist? Is existence a gift? Is it a punishment? Are we here because we should be having a good time? Are we here because we're supposed to suffer? So all these are questions that relate to the war that's going on between good and evil. And the war is playing out within us and outside of us every single day. And we want to make sure that we're on the right side of this war, that we're the ones that are doing the appropriate behavior that's going to cause the future to feel better than the past. It's going to cause the future to have access to themselves in a way that people in the past couldn't have had access while the world was difficult, while the world was in turmoil. So this is where the Torah starts this parsha. It says, Kiseitze lamilchoma levecho. So Rashi says, Ledibra Torah ele keneged Yetzira. The Torah was talking keneged Yetzira, meaning that the Torah is only allowing Eshes Yifas Toyar because it knew that the Yetzira is so strong. In a time of war, people are fighting for their lives. It's not really a time where people are disciplined. So it's almost impossible for a person not to fall in that situation. So the Torah gives him a way out. The Torah prolongs the process, so he has time to think and he has time to regret, but at the end of the day, the Torah gives him what he wants. That's the Pashut Pshat in Rashi. But the Chasidic Pshat is Ledibra Torah ele keneged Yetzirah, that the Torah was talking about a mulchama that you're having with your Yetzirah. Kisetzel ha-mulchama alevecho. Who is your oivecho? Who is your enemy? Your Yetzirah is your enemy. Who is your Yetzirah? The part of you that wants to interpret life negatively. That's a Yetzirah. Because a Yetzer is a lotion of Tzar Tzura, somebody who is mitzayer tziyurim. He's an artist. And the Yetzer Tov makes nice images, and the Yetzirah makes bad images. So the Yetzirah is the one that wants to interpret life, he wants to interpret what's happening in a bad way. And why does he have that interest? Because if you interpret it wrong, then you're going to manifest wrong thoughts, wrong words, and wrong actions. And that's going to perpetuate evil. So evil in this sense doesn't exist in our life because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created it. Evil in our life exists because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us tremendous power. He gave us the ability to speak and think. And He didn't yet give us the intelligence to know how to use it. So evil happens from the ignorance of how we use speech and thought. That's the cause of evil. And that's your enemy. That's your biggest enemy. That's the enemy you have in this world. And that's the enemy you have even when you leave this world. Because everything that you pass through, all your experiences, are going to result in where you end up and how you see yourself, how you see life, how you see what's happening. So therefore, when the Torah says oivecho, we must be talking about the Yetzirah. Says the Rebbe Rabbeinu Mipeshischem that this pshat, this Chasidic pshat, as ledibra Torah ele keneged Yetzirah, that the Torah is only talking about a war with the Yetzirah because that's the ultimate war. So it says that's really Pashat pshat. It's not a Chasidic word. This is really what the Torah is talking about. This is really what the Torah was concerned about. That you're going into a war with the Yetzirah every single day. And even if you already conquered a lot of territory from him, he still exists until you completely demolish him, until you completely get rid of him. And if you do, then you can experience the unity. Because as long as there's a Yetzirah, it means you have two different drives. In every situation, there's going to be two different sides of you. They're going to want to pull in different directions. And this is the nature of how we think. And why did this happen to us? Why do we have a duplicate inside? Why is there two different sides? That's because when we were told the words, when we were explained life, that explanation didn't match our nature. So now we have our nature, our Yetzer Tov, and what we think that has a lot of ignorance in it, which is the food for our Yetzer Ra. Yetzer Ra only lives in the gaps of intelligence of how you interpret life. If we would have perfect intelligence, there would be no Yetzer Ra. There would be no possibility of evil. But while we're growing that intelligence, while we're becoming intelligent, while we're recognizing what's really happening to us, we might say and do things that are not appropriate for ourselves or for other people. And then we cause damage. So the Degel says, V're'isa bashivyo, eshes yifas toyer. Who are we talking about? We're talking about the Shechina. That when a person will observe the war that's happening inside of him between good and evil, he will recognize that there is reality that's being imprisoned by all these thoughts, beliefs, and words that are not appropriate. And we don't have access to reality unless we can learn how to discern the truth from the ignorance, how to know what's real and what's not real. And that's why we were given the Torah. The Torah is our tool to allow us to take the Eshes Yifas Torah, this beautiful woman, which we're referring to the Shechina, we're referring to reality itself, we're referring to the neshamas within each one of us, that through the Torah we can free the neshama from its capture, from the place where it's captured, which is the internal self. The internal self is captured through all the words and the thoughts and the understandings that are not true and are not appropriate and are offensive to the nature of that being. So it says, when you go out into war, know HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you the win. Why do you know? Because you've gone out to war. If you've gone out to war, if you've identified the sides, that already tells you that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to allow you to win. Because identifying the sides is the beginning of the process where everything is going to eventually end up in the Yichud. So the first step is identifying what is good and what is not good, what is true and what is not true. How can I tell? And when you learn how to tell the difference, then know in Sonai Hashem Elokecha B'Yedecha that you will win. Because the evil is not real. The evil is artificial. So the truth will always win over the non-truth. Reality will always win over something that's imagined. But it's our ability to tell the difference that will give us the ability to win. If we don't know who we're fighting, if we give support to the wrong side, then we don't have the ability to win. Only when we can differentiate between what's real and what's not real, what is good and what is not good, do we have a chance of actually winning this war. So when you go into this war, says the Torah, you see something that is stuck. Life itself is stuck. We go through our daily lives, we don't notice because our mind is distracted. Our mind only thinks about one thing as it's going through, and it focuses on one thing, it doesn't see any other thing. When a person is hungry, the other things in his life don't seem as urgent because he has one thing that he's concerned about, he needs food. And the same thing, anything else that we get distracted with. So we've learned how to distract ourselves perpetually so that we don't notice that there's a reality beneath all our busyness that needs to be saved. Because this is our life. This is the most important thing we have ever. It's more important than anything we do. And therefore, getting it right is the key to taking reality out of prison. Reality is in prison amongst many, many lies. Reality is in prison amongst many misunderstandings. And at the base of that misunderstanding is our relationship with reality, our relationship with whoever created reality, our relationship with what's happening to us, to our spouses, to our children. That's imprisoned by all our beliefs and by all our understandings. Ad kedei kach, that we end up hurting things that are most important to us because we don't know the appropriate way of approaching life. We don't know the appropriate way of approaching ourselves. So when a person gets to a level where he can see what's at stake, where he can see how important this really is, when he can see what a difference it could make. And to give us more context, we can look at other people, other nations, other times in history, and see how people made from the same ingredients, which is life, very different experiences, very different interactions, very different realities. And from the outside, we can see what our senses can pick up, but it requires intelligence to be able to take that further and understand what was the experience these people were having. If we read just how the Rishonim write, for example, about the Creator, the excitement that they had, the joy that they can have a relationship with that, with something so big. It's something that a person needs to develop, something that a person needs to work on in order to be able to appreciate the fact that somebody that's capable of creating a human being wants to have a relationship with you. It's so important to him to have a relationship with you that he actually decided to create you so he can have that relationship. It's a very big deal. It's bigger than anything that ever happened to us. It's bigger than being born, it's bigger than dying. It's bigger than Olam Haba. Because it's the source of all those things that you're interacting with. The potential of that relationship itself is infinite. But even if that relationship is only minimal, the fact that you can have that relationship is more important than anything that could ever happen to you. Because He is the most real out of everything. And this is something our minds need time to develop, the appreciation for something this big. Our mind's not used to thinking in such big terms. In the past, people used to use kings as examples. Think if you can talk to the king. Today, a king is meaningless to us. We never developed enough fear or enough respect or enough understanding of what a king really is. But whatever we can possibly imagine, whatever could possibly be important to us, whatever is the biggest event that happened in our lives, it pales in comparison to a relationship with the one that created life, with the one that gave you all these possibilities, with the one that opened up this door for you into existence. And the only way we can really start appreciating it appropriately is if it won't be a burden to us. As long as it's a burden, not only do we not appreciate it, some people say, take it back. I don't want it. And that's because we haven't learned how to use our bechira, we haven't learned how to use our intelligence to make life better. For all of us. We have the ability to do that. Not only do we have the ability to do it, it's our nature to do it. We were created this way. We were created in a way that we want to. We were created in a way where it hurts if you don't. And yet we're so confused that we don't really know how to create that better, how to be more. So in the beginning, when a person goes into this war, he needs to recognize who he's really working for. Who are you fighting for? Why are you fighting? Because the motivation and the source of where it comes is going to be the key to who's going to win. When a person has the appropriate motivation, it's coming from a big idea in his mind, it's coming from something that's very developed in his brain, then when he does the actions, when he changes his behavior, it comes easily for him. It's important to him. And this we can see in our daily lives. Our energy to act depends on the purpose why we are acting. The more important the purpose, the more developed, the more energy we have, the more we can do. If somebody thought that he can save 1,000 people by doing an action, he's going to have tremendous energy to do it, even if it means running for a few miles. Because the spiritual side of what he's doing, the concept that's in his mind, is so important to him that it's driving the body. It can override the body. And this is something that people were exposed to in the past, because people recognized the importance, because it was physical. It was easier to see the importance of how you can save people, you can save lives, you can save your family in a time of need. People were able to give all that they had because they understood importance. Today, we're talking about a war that's happening covertly. It's happening behind the scenes. It's happening inside of us. And so people don't know how to gather their strength, their energy, to recognize the importance so that they win. And winning means that you never allow, in the beginning it's speech and action, you never allow any speech or action to leave you, to leave your body, to leave your mouth, that's going to cause harm to another human being, that's going to cause another human being to feel small, to feel ashamed, to feel like he's not good enough. Because when we do that, we're taking away that person's place to live. This planet is our place to live. We have no other place. And when we make somebody feel ashamed, we took away his space. We took away his ability to live. We took away his confidence to manifest as a human being. And if we wouldn't do that to each other, obviously we would all be in a different state. We all have so much more to contribute to society than we're currently giving. And the reason we're not giving what we have, the reason we're not reaching our potential, is because we've been belittled. Whether we did it ourselves to ourselves, or other people helped us, or other people taught us how to do it to ourselves, and then we continue doing it to ourselves on our own. At the end of the day, we're not getting the energy that we need in order to live perfect lives, because the way that we've been treated, the beliefs that we've created for ourselves, the interactions that became habits, are of a low caliber, are of a low level. And this allows the other side, the Sitra Achra, to win the war. If we're tired, if we're not giving it all we got, if we don't see the importance, the other side will win. And we can't have that, because not only is our life at stake, our children's lives are at stake. Our afterlives are at stake. The whole globe is at stake. Based on what we do today, tomorrow will take place. This is the power that we have. This is the choice that we have. That we have a tool with infinite power. The words that we can say, the emotions that they can create, the reactions that can happen throughout the globe just from people talking, is infinite. We can't even imagine. If we want to look back in time, it's going to be much easier for us to look at the negative of how negative words can cause tremendous suffering, because the positive hasn't really happened anytime recently. If we want to look for the positive, we have to go back thousands of years. If we want to look for the negative, we only have to go back 80 years and look at what one person who had the power of speech, who had the ability to get into people's minds, how many millions and millions died across the globe just from his speaking, just from using his words as a manifestation of evil, as a manifestation of the desire to interpret life in an evil way. That's the power of a human being. And we can do much better than that. We can do much better than that. If we can only learn how to interpret life in a way that's human-friendly. Because the interpretation is the motivation. Your interpretation of an event, your interpretation of something that takes place, is what's going to drive your reaction to it. It's what's going to give you the force. Sometimes you can see a guy, he misinterprets something, and he flies off the handle. He gets completely removed from reality because he thought something meant something. He interpreted it that way. And then he can do crazy things that he's going to regret for the rest of his life. But he thought. So who was in charge of that interpretation? Whether it's right or wrong is not really the point. The point is, was it good or was it evil? Was it an interpretation that's pro-humanity or was it an interpretation that's anti-humanity? And the truth is always pro-humanity. Why is the truth pro-humanity? Because if you look at all evil that was done in life and you trace it back to its origins, you will find that it wasn't nature that created that evil. Even the nature within people, it wasn't their nature that created the evil. It was the interactions that they had with other people. It was the ignorance. It was the lack of understanding of how life works that drove people to become evil. It's not the actual events. It's not what's really taking place. And then once there's one evil, there's reactions of evil. Once there are reactions of evil, there are additional reactions of evil. And this is life. And the same goes for the good, and even more so. That when a person changes how he sees life, he changes how he interprets life, and he makes sure that he supports the people around him at all costs, that he absorbs whatever difficult interpretations he finds in his mind, and he changes them for the better, so that he doesn't see evil in people, he doesn't see them as bad, he doesn't think they're looking to hurt him, he doesn't think that they're out to get him. All these things that cause people to react violently, even if it's just in their mind. When a person can start doing that, then he's actually saving the Eshes Yefasta, he's saving the Shechina from itself, so to speak, from its own horrible interpretations of what it means to be it, what it means to be alive, or what it means to be with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And not only that, he's taking HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself out of Galus. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as long as he can't give to the world what he wants to give, as long as his concept of life is not playing out, he is in Galus. HaKadosh Baruch Hu suffers with us. Because the purpose of creating people was to be kind to them. And when we don't allow him to be kind to us, because we ruin our vessels, we ruin the vessels of the people around us, so then they have that relationship that we created within them with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They have that relationship with themselves. And this is how evil perpetuates. So it's up to us really to wake up and recognize how real this really is. It might just be words. Words don't seem powerful to us. They go for 1 second and then they're gone. But in the spiritual world, words are extremely powerful. Words are weapons in the spiritual world. The spiritual world is the world that drives the physical. And therefore, the physical will suffer if the spiritual creates evil. Not only will the spiritual suffer, the physical will suffer. And this is essentially the message that we get from the Torah over and over again. Don't assume that a spiritual offense remains spiritual. A spiritual offense becomes physical. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu created our brains and our hearts and our organs in such a way that they convert the spiritual into the physical. The human body is a converter. It converts thoughts into physical matter. It converts thoughts into settings of a nervous system. It converts thoughts into chemicals. Some thoughts will cause dopamine to release. Other thoughts can cause adrenaline to release. It's not the events, it's the thoughts. It's the interpretation. And we're in charge of that. We have the power, by trying slowly to move in the right direction, to change how we think, to change how we interpret life. And that's something that is at the base of our spiritual work. In fact, all the Torah and all the mitzvahs were given to us for this purpose, so that we can win this war. The purpose of having laws for human beings, the purpose of having order, the purpose of creating a community, is so that people can know how to interact in order to create a better reality, in order to create a better life. Because this experience was meant to be meaningful. This experience is a gift that was given to us by somebody who knows how to create, he knows how to give. If we can look at life and see it the way that he saw it, see it the way that he intends it to be, it will be non-stop pleasurable. There's no doubt and there's no question. And the Torah says that as soon as the world was created, it says, Kadosh Baruch Hu gives you Eidus. Don't assume I created a bad world and that's why you're suffering. That's not the reason. I created a perfect world. You're suffering because you haven't learned how to use it. You're using it wrong. And by using it wrong, you're causing yourself suffering, and you're causing suffering to the people around you. And this is a hard pill to swallow for people who suffer. Nobody wants to hear that it's their own fault. And it's not about fault. We're not looking to point fingers. We're looking at trying to understand how pain manifests, and trying to understand how we can go in a direction that's going to eliminate that pain from our lives. And most of the pain suffered by humanity is psychological. And the rest, even the physical pain, most of it is a result of the psychological. Not even talking about wars, which are an obvious manifestation of psychological fears. But even disease, even other problems that people suffer with, everything in its origin goes back to the spiritual. And the spiritual was created pristine. There was nothing negative there. There was not a single negative thought or potential for negative manifestation in the physical before man decided to think in a negative way, before man came to a das that allowed him to distinguish good from evil. So in order for us to go back to that place of cleanliness, in order for us to see life the way that the Creator intended for us and He wants us to live, we have to be able to eliminate all these negative influences that are driving us. They're in our kitchen, they're cooking with us. They're part of our ingredients of our daily life. Let's not kid ourselves. We are part of the problem. And it's our job, it's our responsibility, and it's our privilege to be able to change that, to be able to be something else, to take what we say and what we think seriously, because it does have consequences. It creates you. And you are very important, even if you haven't noticed. In fact, you are everything. As far as you're concerned, you are the whole world. You're never going to be anyone else. So even though you see a lot of people around you, don't let that confuse you. You're still everything. As far as you're concerned, you are the only one. You're the only one you ever were. You're the only one you'll ever be. And therefore you want to make sure that you are clean. You want to make sure that you can have the positive outlook on life where your brain and your heart are on the same page and they work with each other to give you life. Because if your brain and your heart are not on the same page, you're not getting the full dose of life that you need. And there will be consequences. A person doesn't have enough life, he's too easily aggravated. Every little thing can annoy him. It's not because of the little thing, it's because his brain and his heart are not in alignment. It's because he and he don't get along. And therefore, the consequences are that when he wants to do things, when he wants to experience, he's not all there. He's not ready. And therefore, every little thing can tick him off. Every little thing could ruin his mood. Every little thing can take him out of balance. It's not about the things, it's about the person. It's about how do you manage your spiritual energy. Your spiritual energy expresses itself in your thoughts and expresses itself in your emotions and your feelings. And when there's something off inside of there, it's your responsibility to clean it out. Go get help. Go find someone that can teach you. Go find someone that can help you clarify what's happening inside, because as long as that's not clean, it is causing damage to yourself, to the people around you, to your family. And it's our job. It's our only job. More important than providing money, more important than providing time to other people, more important than providing any other type of service to society, is that we take care of ourselves to be the people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created us to be. Because this is it. This is life. It's happening. It's really happening. This is real. And if we don't change it, it won't change. Nobody else is going to go inside of us and clean us out. This is a work that we need to do because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us this responsibility. It's true our parents have a big part in our problems. It's true our schools have a big part in our problems. If we want to go point fingers, we can have very good explanations for everything that's wrong with us. But at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to clean it out. We're the only ones that can do it. And this is the reason we're here. And for every little thing that you changed, for every little thing that you managed to win in this war, there will be trophies. Your name will come up. And you know where? In the mind of the one that created life. In HaKadosh Baruch Hu's awareness, that's where. That's who is going to know your name if you change even a tiny thing. If you overcome one inclination of evil, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself will be grateful to you, because this is his war. This is his game. He cares very little if the economy is going well. He cares very little if people have this or have that, or they go here, they go there. He cares about how you feel. And if there is negative inside of you, even with all the money, and with all the possessions, and with all the friends, and everything else that you could possibly dream of, anything that relates to the senses, it will not solve the internal problem. It cannot. It doesn't reach there. It doesn't touch that area. That area gets touched by the human heart, by your desire to be better, by your recognizing that the Shekhinah is in Golus. The Shekhinah has been captured by forces that are tormenting it. And you're a part of it. You're part of the Shekhinah. You can feel the torment live. When you get tormented, the Shekhinah is suffering. When you're feeling down, the Shekhinah is down. The Chazal teaches, the Shekhinah says, Klani miroshi, klani mizroi. Wherever it hurts for a human being, it hurts for reality. Reality is real. So the spiritual side of us is more real than anything physical that could possibly happen. In fact, the only reason the physical even matters is because it affects the spiritual. If it didn't affect the spiritual, it wouldn't matter at all. You could just disregard. But because it has such a close and intimate relationship with the spiritual, we must care about the physical too. But only as tools to serve the spiritual. If two people are fighting over money, they've totally missed the point of life. They're using something not real to damage something real. What's real is that they're fighting. What they're fighting over is not real. It'll be this way, it'll be that way. They'll both survive. But their neshama won't survive if they'll fight. We lose our tzelem elokim. When we go anti another human being, we lose our tzelem elokim. We lose access to our neshama. We lose access to the intelligence that created life. Because he created you and he created the other guy. He cares about both. And if His will is not important to us, then we're not going to create a better world for ourselves either. Because He's the one who designed it, that it should work a certain way. If we're not pleasing Him, we're not pleasing ourselves. That's just foolish. To think that you cannot please Him but please yourself is foolish. If we're not pleasing Him, we're causing damage to ourselves. Otherwise, it would please Him. He doesn't have any external desires. He doesn't have an agenda. He doesn't have any other goal. His only goal is to make this world perfect. So you're either working for Him or you're working against yourself. And this is what we've turned into. That we all suffer and we all dish out suffering. We all go through life and we don't understand, what does He want from us? Why am I suffering so much? And while we're going through that, we're causing other people around us suffering. And we need to turn that around. We need to give pleasure to other people. We need to help other people feel good. It's really that simple. We talk about spouses. Spouses need to realize that they are the doorway to the other person's pleasure. They're the guard. The Torah says you're going to get your pleasure from your spouse. This is a tremendous responsibility. Even by feeding animals. The Torah says if you're late to feed an animal, then you're poigim. Then you've caused the pagam and the bria. The animal is hungry, he needs to eat. Why are you causing him distress? Alachas kama v'kama when you're talking about a person. Spouses should be spending time, not just giving each other pleasure, trying to figure out how can I give my spouse more pleasure. And your payoff will be even in this world. You'll have a better spouse. We've forgotten what's important. We've forgotten what the point is. We think work is important. We think friends are important. We think all kinds of different things that are important. And we forget the basic concept of being a good, kind human being. Forget everything you knew, because it's all twisted and tainted. Come back to the basics. Be kind. Help. People are suffering. Help. They're embarrassed to ask for your help, but you still need to help them. Don't wait till they ask. Look and see. Where can I be of service? How can I give more? Because it will improve your life. It will improve the other people's lives. And they'll learn from you, and suddenly you'll have more. The basics of life is where reality takes place. Reality is not so complicated. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us the instincts. He gave us the understanding. He gave us the intelligence to know what we need to do. But we have so many words in our mind. There's so much going on. There's so many structures. Everything has gotten so complicated. Everything is a hassle. You're always fighting and arguing with people, that we've forgotten the basics of life. Don't block people from enjoying their time on this planet. It's not good for you. It's not good for them. Don't do it. If you're in a bad mood, don't talk. Unless you have somebody that can help you get out of there. Don't just spend all your negative energy on the people around you. They'll bite back. And you're going to be stuck with everything you said in your mind. You're going to have to live with that person. This is the war that's taking place. It's real. It's a war between good and evil. It's a war between pain and pleasure. It's a war between love and fear. It's a war between everything good and everything not good. The lines are that clear. And it's our job to stand on the side of good to the best of our ability, and our capacity will grow. The more good we do, the more capacity we'll have to do good. The more we enjoy life, the more capacity we'll have to enjoy life. The more we understand, the more intelligence we'll have to understand more. This is the nature of the spiritual. It grows. You have to put a seed into the ground, which is your mind, and then it grows. And then it becomes more. And people have forgotten how dependent the people around you are for your love, for your understanding, for your support, for feeling safe in this world, for feeling at home in this planet. This is the only home we have. If we don't make our spouse feel at home in this planet, where is he going to feel at home? How is he supposed to survive? How is he supposed to get through his day or her day? This is more real than we can ever imagine. And we'll notice how real it is as soon as we won't have a mind to distract us. As long as we have a mind, we can distract ourselves. Think about this, think about that. Like we said before, the mind, once it focuses on something, it can black out many other things. But once we won't have a mind, all that'll be left is reality. What did take place in the time that you had on this planet? You came into a war zone. You had the ability to act. What did you do? And who are we fighting for? We're fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for the goodness and the kindness of humanity. We are human. We have no other purpose. So this is the Milchama that the Torah is talking about. The Milchama is the real underlying cause of all suffering. As soon as this Milchama will be won, as soon as kindness will take over, as soon as people will have the intelligence to know the truth and to act by it, then all the pain, all the sorrow, all the tears will disappear like a bad dream. It doesn't need to be this way. And this is even more important when dealing with children. When dealing with children, the effect multiplies because children are so pure. Children are still connected to something real. They have their natural feelings and desires are divine, straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when we make them feel like they're not good enough, we make them feel like there's something wrong with them, we make them feel like life is about suffering, get used to it, then we're recording a prophecy in their mind. The prophecy will play out in their lifetime, and then they'll have to deal with the consequences. These are people we love. We shouldn't gamble. We need to figure out how can we be more happy with our own lives so that we can be nicer, so that we can be better. It's very hard to be nice when you're not happy. Your mind won't give you the words to say. But when you're happy, when you're enjoying, then you can be good. It's much easier to be good. And therefore we must find ways to be happy. And we know by Chasidim, this was one of the biggest avodas, is do whatever it takes so that you can be happy, because if not, you're not getting the real you. And not only are you not getting the real you, the people around you are not getting the real you. And they don't know that it's not the real you. They suffer you as if you are the real you. So we must find ways to make ourselves feel better. We cannot focus on the difficult sides of life. If we do, we'll just get lost in pain and we'll never come home. We have to distract ourselves from our pain and increase our pleasures so that we can find rest, so that we can be in the mood to help, so that we can say the right things, so that we can instill life, spiritual life, chayas, into the people around us, so that we can bring them back, we can resuscitate them after all the suffering that they've seen and experienced, that is for no reason, for nothing. There's nobody after us. It's just an illusion. It serves no purpose. It helps no one. How good does it feel already to release that anger and say those few words? Can it pay for generations and generations of pain? Not even close. It doesn't even pay for the first pain that comes back at you when the other guy screams back. So why do we do it? Because it's habitual. Or maybe our beliefs are wrong. Oh, if I don't give him back, then next time he'll do worse. Or all kinds of crazy stuff we tell ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we release negative words from our mouth, we are fighting the wrong side of this war. And this war is the single most important event of your life, of our lives, of all our lives, of every single human being that's been living on this planet for the last 6,000 years. This war is the most important part of their lives. This is what they're going to be judged by. Which side of the war were you on? Who are you helping? Who were you working for while you were down there? while you had your body and you could do whatever you want and say whatever you want. It's so easy. Which side were you working for? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu should help us that we should be able to recognize how deep this truth really goes. We should be able to wake up our neshama. And neshama will only wake up when we are happy, when we are content. We won't want to know about our kesher with HaKadosh Baruch Hu if we're in suffering. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not our friend when we suffer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu seems like our enemy when we suffer. We have to first learn how to stop suffering so we can think of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the right terms, so we can recognize what He really did over here. So we can recognize how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us and how badly human behavior has messed it up. And if we'll figure out how to do it right, then the people around us will be impacted in a way that's going to pay for itself over and over and over again. It's not going to stop paying for itself. We can't imagine currently, with the information in our minds, what it really means to be human. We've never experienced it. But if we can change, if we can recognize our role, if we can be there for the people who need us, then slowly our nervous system will recover. Slowly our entire body will respond to this shift in understanding, to this shift in consciousness, and we will become more healthy, physically, and emotionally, and spiritually. And we'll be zocher to the Gula Shlema of Meher B'Yameinu.
So sometimes you could get into situations with really difficult people.
Yes.
And they're just impossible not to. It's like, they make a lot of confusion and difficulty, and they become so. They could be a really, it could be impossible not to.
Yes, it's very difficult not to respond. You get dragged in.
Right, and for there's conflicting, people. This guy's hurting somebody else, and so if you, help him, stop him from hurting somebody else, then you're hurting the first guy, for example.
So there's two things. First of all, when a person really takes the time to clarify to himself the importance, then even if other people are causing issues, even there's a drama around him, he'll be afraid to get involved in the drama. If a person really recognizes what's at stake, he would be afraid to get involved in the drama. He would keep himself away. So that's even if he has to be next to that constantly. But really, ultimately, if a person identifies how serious he is about this concept, how important it is to him, then he's going to make sure that he tries to stay away from people like that as much as possible. Even changing jobs or doing whatever else that he needs to do, so that he doesn't get himself involved into these areas, because these areas will affect the other parts of his life. It's not segregated. It's not like he can say, at work I have to behave a certain way, then I come home, I'm all nice. Whatever happens at work comes home. Whatever happens in any part of our life, whatever happens any time, whether it's day or night or in any country or in any place, as long as we're